What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Good afternoon! What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's KB, it's Dylan, it's the Wiz, the legend has it himself, Christian Wisniewski. We are back. We're talking Wednesday Addams because the boys have tuned in to the cultural hype train that is Jenna Ortega and the Wednesday Addams show on Netflix. Let's just say it now. I think across the board, we're not disappointed. We have another movie review. We're reviewing Spirited, which I think is the very first Apple TV Plus review on this podcast, which is exciting. Adding another streaming platform to the Rolodex.
Yeah.
Spirited.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
we have our top five Christmas movies. We're in the holiday spirit. And then we'll get into the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, which there's a huge piece on there, which at some point in January, boys, I think this triple box may turn into a quad box for an episode.
Quad box?
Because there's a show coming back that one of the Underground OGs was on StreamerSZN for the first time. And we talked about it. It's the very first show we ever talked about. It's coming back, which I'm very excited about. We'll get into that later on in the show. But before we get started, go ahead, Christian.
And hopefully no technical issues.
Yes. Knock on all of the wood, whether it's teak, firewood, whatever it may be. Knock on all the woods. But go watch the streamer cut of last week's episode that was. I just decided to upload the entire thing as is. So go check that out. But before we get started, make sure you guys are following us at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow Christian on Twitter at TheWiz_PHI. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And Dylan, say the line.
The line is this. It's the same thing I said every week. No, it's for you guys in those reviews and those comments to be like giving the three of us and possibly the four of us, like I suggested, recommendations on what to watch next. We have all the podcasts or all the streaming services at our fingertips. We can watch whatever movie and or show you deem fit for us. So let us know.
Go do it. And the 5-star reviews and ratings really help the show continue growing and helps more people get their ears and eyes on StreamerSZN. Follow us on Letterboxd. Just search StreamerSZN on there. Our Bullet Train review is up now from last week. It's in our review log there. Spirited will be in there by the end of the week once we finish reviewing it here on the pod. And make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. You get full video episodes of StreamerSZN, all the podcasts coming out of Underground Studios, live streams, original content. It's all on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. The goal right now, by the end of the year, there's about 16 days left. We want 350 subscribers. We're at 329. 9 plus 10 is 21. Go do it. We're that close. Be a friend, tell a friend. Subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. Ring the bell icon. You can also leave your movie and show recommendations in the YouTube comment section. And also let us know how you feel about everything the three of us talk about on tonight's show. Give us your feelings and share the channel with your people. And also go get your merch. PHI Apparel Company is the official merch provider of Streamer Season. And there's no doubt, guys, with their unique designs, including first edition Streamer Season merch, that you're going to stand out at the movie theater with your friends when you're watching your favorite shows and movies or wherever you may be. Their unique designs stand out in the crowd. You guys can go use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off at phiapparel.co. That's phiapparel.co, and use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off. It's the easiest, most direct way to support everything we do here at Underground Sports. It supports all of our podcasts, so go get your merch. That's code UNDERGROUND, 10% off, phiapparel.co. Let's get into everybody's favorite goth girl, Wednesday Addams, Jenna Ortega. We've all at least seen the pilot, and I gotta say, boys, initial reactions from me on this show, not really knowing the plot premise, but just kind of knowing the Addams family, as I think a lot of people do. This show rules. And, you know, we talked about it last week with just the craze and the hype about it. This show is exactly what Netflix needed, and Dylan and I have talked about this a ton, you know, when Netflix was kind of trying to bounce back from the pandemic and everything, and, you know, their subscribers dropping, and, you know, people leaving Netflix and going to other streaming platforms. Yeah. This is the type of show they needed to add to their Rolodex, and with only watching one episode so far, I've been thoroughly impressed. Jenna Ortega is a fucking rock star. She's going to be great in whatever she touches, and I highly recommend to everybody just go find Jenna Ortega interviews on YouTube, because she's funny as all hell. But Christian, I'll start with you. Your initial thoughts on Wednesday Addams so far from what you've taken in.
My thoughts are, this is going to be a fun little supernatural mystery thing. Most importantly, we have reached the Jenna Ortega era in the past year, because if we look at her past year, towards the end of last year, she was in the Fallout, which was a big HBO Max show, and then coming into this year, she's in Scream 5, and she's in X, which is one of the big slasher movie events that came out this past year, a really successful indie film from director Ty West. And so next year, she also has Scream 6, which, if you saw the teaser for that, looks interesting. But this is someone who is still very young and is seemingly hitting her stride after a great year. And man, she is the face for it, and she can just do it emotionless really well. And so there's very much a star in the making there, and we'll see how the rest of this cast does throughout this series. It should be a really, really, really fun time if it keeps it up. And I've watched 2 episodes, so I know a little more than y'all.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that Christina Ricci is part of this show as well, who is OG Wednesday Addams, she knows the role probably better than anybody. And, there's an interview out there where Jenna Ortega flat out said she did not talk to Christina Ricci once about the role, because she didn't want to make it seem like she was copying or, pulling from Christina Ricci's Wednesday Addams and wanted to make this her own. And I love that, because, from everything I've seen, from everything you guys have seen, I'm sure, you can tell Jen Ortega is, making this her own take on Wednesday Addams. And it's still got, the past of everything with the Addams family, Wednesday Addams. There's pulls from the original show. There's pulls from movies and everything. But then there's also this new age spin that Jen Ortega's put onto it. And I absolutely love it. Dylan, what are your thoughts so far from Wednesday?
Well, firstly, I agree with the fact that she's an up-and-coming superstar. I mean, Christian laid out the fact that she's in a lot in the past calendar year, and judging by the detraction of the show and the other films she's been in recently, I don't see that slowing down, because she's, 20 or 21, correct?
She's 20.
Still super young, so...
I have the Wikipedia.
She's 20. She just turned 20 in September.
That's nuts.
Hey, wait, hold on. She's the same birthday as my sister.
Look at that.
Except 1 year later.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool little coincidence. But no, so she's super young. Like it's a budding star. Well, already a star. More of a star. I will be the one slight party pooper. I'm not really an Addams Family person. Never have been. So watching this show for me is just personally. I want to emphasize that before anyone attacks me. Personally, I just don't really like the Addams Family. Just never really have. Whether you look at the OOOG, like Black and White, or some of the later adaptations, I really just don't necessarily care for it. But I will say, production-wise and acting-wise, I'm impressed because I don't really like the Addams Family. So maybe I can give a better take on certain things than people who are like in love with the characters, because I really don't. But no, her acting is great, and she definitely fits the role 112%. Whoever casted her, give themselves a cookie and a pat on the back, because that was a great job.
It's the legend that is Tim Burton.
There
you go.
The 1964 TV series always holds a special place in my heart, partially because John Astin is just so great in that. And
100%.
Thing and Plant, and probably my favorite episode of that original series is when one of their friends brings these two foreign diplomats into their house because they basically stopped at a random name in the phone book and then chaos ensues where they think Lurch is a robot and Thing is a sentient hand, and they discover Pugsley has an actual ray gun that makes things disappear. And it's like those episodes are some of the funniest stuff, and so technically the OOG Wednesday Addams from there is Lisa Loring,
right?
But like that's. I encourage people to go on YouTube and try and dig up some clips from that, because those are some funny things. Uncle Fester being electrically recharged because he's feeling tired. It's
so good.
And funny enough, speaking of Easter eggs, Kyle, I love the whole carnivorous plant thing, because if anyone knows anything about the Addams Family, Morticia Addams raises carnivorous plants, and in the TV show is literally feeding them giant steaks.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see how, because I feel like that's going to become a little more prominent as we go throughout the series.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of Easter eggs from all the iterations of the Addams Family. My personal favorite that I've taken in so far is the, you're a little kooky. I actually prefer spooky.
I was really hoping they were then going to do some line involving Ookie. I'm like, come on, do it.
And I also love Thing. Like, Thing in this show is great. Like, it has a personality, which is like something you want to see from, and a hand just walking around. Dylan, I wanted to get your take on this too, because I felt this way, because I didn't realize, like, going into it that it was going to have kind of like this murder mystery plot, supernatural type thing. Did you get Stranger Things vibes?
I guess you could say slightly. Yeah.
Not like direct, but like it gives, like, from the, like, the way I associate it was like Stranger Things is a show that like kids can watch, but generally the target audience is that young adult audience. I feel the same way about this show, where you're trying to draw in the young guns and the kids and everything, but this show is also like made for young adults.
I think that's just job well done in terms of development, because you don't want to, kind of like the recent news we said last week with Cartoon Network going back to making cartoons more so for adults but can be watched by kids. That's kind of what you want to do with like anything. Like, unless you're solely going with making like a G-rated, like this is like a Minions movie, I guess. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much made for kids. Although people do like it, but my point is the audience is targeted at children predominantly there. Whereas a show like this or Stranger Things, I feel like it's a little open, and I think that garnishes more views.
See, I would say this is somehow a little more kids friendly than Stranger Things, because
Oh,
Stranger
yeah.
Things is like kind
Yeah,
of just like
definitely.
it's straight up kind of just soft horror.
Yeah.
And
I was pleasantly thrilled though, like that scene in the high school in the opening episode when she drops the piranhas in the pool and then
show
flat out
blood.
says that homie lost a testicle. I was like, that's just great. Like that's fantastic stuff. Like that's how you bring in, your young adult audience, and it's like, hey, we're kind of being, a little cynical here, and
Yeah.
that's the fun stuff about Wednesday Addams as a character as a whole. She's cynical, but she has, this deep rooted like want for emotion to come out of her, and you kind of see little bits and pieces of that in the pilot episode, which is very fun.
her her views on social media had me howling. But where I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But who gave Gollum steroids? Because that's what that monster looks like.
That's what I was thinking too, dude.
It's Gollum on steroids.
Just looked like a Lord of the Rings clone.
Yeah, and the kid that gets absolutely thrashed by that thing reminded me of the nerd kid from Stranger Things season 4 who gets got by Vecna. Like kind of the nerd who's like trying to hang around like the cool, hot, chick and everything, and then he just gets got.
Whoa, my friend.
Also, I think the fun part about this show is that it's Tim Burton's TV debut.
But it's not too Tim Burton. That's the key thing. Like it's not him going full Sweeney Todd or Edward Scissorhands. It's like controlled Tim Burton, which like for certain famous directors, it's like, can I get the controlled version of you? It's like Baz Luhrmann, can you just rein it in a little? Like
it is one of those things that like it is kind of like makes you like go, huh? That when you hear it is Tim Burton's like TV debut, it's like, wow, this didn't happen sooner.
It makes sense with your reaction because, and go off what Christian said, because he is a director more than most, where like you either like his work or you really don't. Like, I feel like people who dislike Tim Burton films generally dislike most of them, whereas it's not like, like I personally don't hate Tim Burton, so there are several of his films that I enjoy because I think his style is very interesting. But Christian's right; you very much know when you're watching a Tim Burton movie. There's like apparent signs.
Probably my favorite example of it is Beetlejuice, because I love Michael Keaton in that film, but the more you think about and break down that film, like it's like here and there, I'm like, what am I watching? And I rewatched them last year. I'm like, this is a lot messier than I remember.
I don't hate Tim Burton's Batman though.
Oh sure, yeah.
I'm a big Tim Burton guy.
I will say that first Batman film with the Joker, I'm like, this is very messy and it's too long and it's a lot of things here. But like once again, like there's like you get like signature performances, but it's like it's very much like there are good performances in lots of Tim Burton stuff. It's just, can you jive with the world and environment he has it in? And if you don't, that's where rubber meets the road and you get God knows what.
Yeah, 100%. It makes me beg the question, too, because obviously we haven't watched the entire series yet, but hopefully by the time we do the next episode or two, we'll have the whole series locked down. Do we see Tim Burton do more TV in the future?
So I would say yes, simply because one thing with these streaming services is, in this volatile time where they're still trying to bring people in, still trying to keep up revenue, and still trying to attract eyes, Tim Burton's a name people recognize. Tim Burton's a style people associate things with. Like it's kind of similar. It's kind of similar. Like David Fincher has a deal with Netflix for X number of things. Damien Chazelle just signed a deal with Paramount. So like he'll probably have some stuff going to Paramount Plus. Martin Scorsese's doing a movie for Apple TV. It's like more than ever. Oh, Tony Gilroy and Andor. Like so many top talents, if given the proper resources they want, are more willing than ever to do these streaming things because they know they will get more leeway and get to do things the way they want most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like if this remains successful, we will see maybe another Tim Burton thing or two come up on streaming. We will see more directors come over and do shows or limited series. Like hell, Tarantino has a limited series in the works that's going to be on our streaming platform,
which is crazy.
One way or another.
They never wanted to do TV. I remember I was watching him say that before. I agree with your point full-heartedly. The only thing I was gonna add is that I think it was kind of like a wading pool effect or like an ocean where you watch someone swim out. So directors watch other decent big name directors do TV streaming services, and now there's no stigma to it. Like
that's a great point.
It's how everyone's doing it, and that goes what you said with having, if they get promised, obviously a good budget, a lot of creativity, freelancing, ability to do what they want to do, then why not do it?
Yeah, totally agree. I had this idea too when I was talking to one of my coworkers about Wednesday and just like Tim Burton as a whole doing TV. Because you and I, Dylan, we were big fans of both the Marvel holiday specials we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
I won't share my thoughts.
Hear me out on this. Tim Burton gets the keys to Disney Plus holiday specials featuring Jack Skellington.
I'm okay with that. That's actually not good.
Wasn't he technically involved with that?
Mm-hmm.
But it was animated by, wasn't it Henry Selick?
Yep.
Which we should note, Henry Selick just did a movie for Netflix called Wendell and Wild, so I'm sure Henry Selick would be open to it. But also, I was going to add on to that, maybe, like, I would love to see, like, a Tim Burton version of Werewolf by Night, because I think that could have been even better because yes, Michael Giacchino did a good job directing that, but he's also a composer. And yes, Michael, I love you. I love your Batman score. I think you did a good job on Werewolf by Night. But imagining what a controlled Tim Burton could do there feels very tasty.
Something tells me, like, it wouldn't shock me, now that we have the characters from Werewolf by Night, if Tim Burton somehow gets involved with a Jack Russell, a Midnight Suns type of situation, which would be kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, thinking of a Jack Skellington holiday special for like every holiday possible would be just hilarious, and seeing him tackle different holidays, but with Tim Burton at the helm, would be so much fun because I love Jack Skellington.
Every possible holiday for himself.
Like, think of Jack Skellington, like Cinco de Mayo Jack Skellington, like just the stupidest stuff imaginable, just because it is Disney and it's, streaming platforms, so you kind of have free range. But reviving Jack Skellington now, especially with the cult following that his character has, would be electric. So we'll have more on Wednesday Addams in the weeks to come, but I think we're going to get into our next movie review. It is Spirited, new Apple TV Plus film with Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds, directed by Sean Anders, written by Sean Anders and John Morris. It's based on A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. It's a new era take on it. Overall, just initial thoughts. This movie was way funnier and wittier than I was even expecting, even with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds at the helm. Like, some of the jokes I was just not prepared for in a good way. I I think my biggest takeaway is I would like to see Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds do more together.
I'm not gonna say no to that, but it's like, could we get their version of like, I'm like, could this feels weird to say, but like the other guys too, and we somehow jam Wahlberg in there too, and we have Reynolds, Wahlberg, and Will
So
Ferrell
like a
doing
legit
some.
buddy cop experience with the two of them is what you're advocating for.
That'd be electric.
Yeah, there's certain pairings where it's like you look at it and go, yeah, that would make good buddy cop chemistry. Like, for example, if you guys haven't seen it, currently on Netflix, The Nice Guys.
Yeah, that's with Ryan Gosling
and Russell Crowe.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I love that movie.
Hysterical. It is hysterical, and if you ever get the chance to talk about it on the show, it is a movie that's written by Shane Black, who, if you know anything about Shane Black, he's written so many buddy cop films, and he takes this, gets those two actors, and has maybe the funniest out of typecast Gosling performance. And this is before we see Barbie, but like Gosling is legitimately hilarious in this film.
He is,
and I just want more buddy cop stuff. And I feel like those two, and maybe convince Wahlberg to come in this, and it's like Ryan Reynolds is like doing kind of his like Red Notice character, except a little more serious, and that's what we get. And it's Farrell and Wahlberg chasing down Reynolds.
What is the movie called again?
Are you talking about the current Gosling?
Yeah.
The Nice Guys.
I'm just adding it to our watch
list.
It
has a pretty cool plot too. It's funny.
Yeah, it is. It is so much fun.
And before we continue to our spirited review, brought to you by our friends at Kenwood Beer, Dylan's favorite beverage of choice during the holiday season and 365 days a year. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use that all new and improved Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. And if you are a Philadelphia sports fan and you're going to the Wells Fargo Center, you can now get Big Kenny's at the Wells Fargo Center. So if you're going to a Sixers, Flyers, or Wings game, or Villanova basketball, and you're going to the Farg, go get your Big Kenny's at the Wells Fargo Center. Go support our friends at Kenwood Beer. You got to be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly.
I love that for us and me.
Love that for you, especially when you go take in that miserable hockey team.
I haven't watched them yet this year. That's a conversation for another day.
Kyle, give it enough time, and then after drinking a bunch of Kenwoods in Center City, you can then walk 3 blocks into Chinatown and drown your sorrows in some nice sesame chicken or whatever, and that's just perfect.
Perfect. Shout out to Kenwood. But the plot here for Spirited, overall takes though, before we get into the plot and everything, Dylan, what did you make of this?
I thought it was more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. I always respect certain things having different adaptations. I'm never going to, knock a director for that. That being said, I think it's a Christmas movie. I think I said it before. Christmas movies, like even when I do my list, not to be a hypocrite, there's like one movie on my list I would actually rate like a good movie, and the others they're just movies I like. And that's kind of where this is in my headspace. Like it's a decent movie for a Christmas movie, but like if I was to rate it critically, meh. But it's definitely fun, and I think that's what Christmas movies are all about. Fun, funny, family, stuff like that.
Christian, your overall thoughts?
Dylan said everything that I would have to say, so that
I thought it was good, and I'm also probably, I don't know if you guys fall into, I'm just a sucker for a good musical too. If anybody knows me, so
there's plenty of bad musicals I like, So,
I was impressed by the choreography. That was something that stood out to me in this one.
I didn't even know it was a musical. I didn't even look into this.
Yeah. I had only heard like one other person like talking about it, and they had mentioned that it's a musical, and I'm like, how is that gonna work? Like, how is this a musical? But like, I thought from a musical standpoint, like when they were doing all of that aspect of this movie, they pulled that off really well. So the plot here of Spirited, if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. 3, 2, 1. For nearly 2 centuries, Jacob Marley and the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and yet to come. Also hilarious that Tracy Morgan is one of the ghosts.
I was like, what?
When I heard his voice, I was like, is that Tracy Morgan? Very funny. They've led a team of afterlife spirits in helping find and redeem one new human soul, or perp, every Christmas. That Christmas morning feeling. Christmas Present has been eligible for quote-unquote retirement. This is Will Ferrell's character. For decades, but refuses to do so despite being tempted by the promise of settling down and making up for his own failures in his past life. That goes into Present's lament. And then scoping for a new soul to redeem, the spirits encounter Clint Briggs, a renowned controversial media consultant. Bringing Back Christmas also happens during this. Despite Marley's insistence that Briggs is an unredeemable soul, Present is set on him as he believes that his redemption could have a quote-unquote ripple effect, making him a force for positive change in humanity. The ghosts begin a year of research on Clint, preparing for the annual haunt. And as they near Christmas, they visit Clint's headquarters, where they witness him instructing his niece, who wishes to become class president, to tank her grades and post an unflattering video of a classmate who is running against her. Clint's assistant, Kimberly, who discovered the video at his instruction, feels guilty and almost quits, but ultimately doesn't. And matters are further complicated when Christmas Present is unexpectedly seen by Kimberly. They start the assignment, but it quickly goes off the rails when Clint interrupts Marley and easily seduces Christmas Past, forcing Present to take over. Clint is dismissive of Present and resists his past memories, particularly that of his ex-girlfriend Nora, who broke up with him over his selfishness, and his older sister Carrie, who asked Clint to raise her daughter Ren while on her deathbed. That was one aspect of this movie that I wasn't fully mentally prepared for. There's a lot of darkness in this movie in some aspects, with the wife dying on her deathbed. We'll get into one of the other things later on that happens with a little Suey.
Definitely dark, but the original adaptation's dark.
Oh
too.
yeah, 100%.
They're trying to help a human who's far gone, or far gone, some plural, implies. So yeah, it's gonna
when
be
that one later in the movie happened, I was like, oh, they went there.
Yeah, that's true.
Realizing Clint's case requires an unconventional approach, Present takes him into his own past, revealing that he was once Ebenezer Scrooge. Will Ferrell's Ebenezer Scrooge was also very hilarious. They did a really good job with the costume and the makeup there. I was laughing pretty hard. The only other unredeemable soul to go through the program, which cues, I think, one of the big bangers musically of this Good Afternoon, was fucking hilarious.
I enjoyed it.
The fact that they turned something that is just a casual greeting into a curse word, and something that is, gonna trigger people, was very funny. Marley is furious and orders... I'm gonna go out on a limb. The people who end up watching Spirited, I'm wondering if, Good Afternoon is gonna take that, social media craze and, people use it, and, you kind of see who has seen the movie and who hasn't.
Well, if it does anything like Wednesday did with that dance, we'll trust me, Kyle, we will see it.
That's true.
We will see it.
Marley is furious and orders Present to, quote-unquote, stick to the script in finishing Clint's redemption. Present brings Clint and Nora, who is happily celebrating Christmas with her husband and kids, but Clint deduces that Present longs for a happy family life himself with Kimberly. Present dismisses the idea and then shows him Ren's classmate's reaction when he sees she posted the video. He then finally forces Clint to relive his sister's dying request to raise Ren, where Clint turns her down and passes the responsibility onto their younger brother, Owen. Uncle Owen. Hello there.
Hello there.
Present prepares to leave Clint with yet to come, but Clint forces Present to confront his own fears of whether he was truly redeemed, since he had only lived 3 more weeks after encountering the ghosts, and convinces him to take retirement and return to Earth. He does so, and after he and Clint wake up in Clint's apartment, and him the insults that Ryan Reynolds gives Will Ferrell when he turns into a human again were quite funny. Talking about his back being absolute leather, using indoor plumbing, that was very funny. He's the only person in New York that showers once a month. Clint's part, he asks Kimberly out on a date, and Clint is then intercepted by Yet to Come and shown glimpses of the future, including the trigger warning, the suicide of Ren's classmate. The vision shakes Clint, and he runs away from the haunt, but is intercepted by Past and Yet to Come, who forces him back to Earth. Returning to his apartment, he and Present race to stop Ren from posting the video. Finally catching up to her, Kimberly stops them. She explains that she told Ren not to do it, and then informs Clint she's quitting. Present is jubilant and waits for Clint to receive his congratulations from the Ghost crew, but is confused when they don't arrive. Clint explains that all he did was redeem a mistake and that he hasn't changed, but convinces Present that life is still worth trying and offers his friendship. Present, convinced he is unredeemable, tries to jump in front of a bus and return to the afterlife and end his job. Clint pushes him out of the way, and time freezes before the bus hits him as the spirits arrive to finally congratulate him. However, when time resumes, the bus hits Clint and he gets murked. Clint is reunited with Carrie, but doesn't want to leave Present behind. Instead, he makes a proposal to Marley. Several years later, Clint has assumed the role of the Ghost of Christmas Present and is in a relationship with the Ghost of Christmas Past. That was also kind of a eyebrow raiser, unexpected. Although they did tease it earlier in the movie. He is expanding the program to include other holidays, take on more perps every year, and has brought Carrie on board as part of the staff. He also regularly visits Present, now going by Roberto, and Kimberly as they raise their 2 kids, revealing that they continue to work together, redeeming souls. Ren has grown up and has been accepted into a master's program at Stanford, and then we get that Christmas morning feeling with the curtain call there, and that is Spirited as a plot. Any additional takes, thoughts on this one? I think a much more loaded cast across the board than what I expected to. Big time cast for this one, even outside of Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. Octavia Spencer, Sunita Mani, Patrick Page, very big name actors there, and obviously Tracy Morgan as well. But Dylan, I'll start with you. Your thoughts.
Well, firstly, I didn't do research, so the cast surprised me yet again. I was like, who are all these people? No, it was a different adaptation. Like, the fact that, you see the main character finally changing, and then he ends up dying anyway, was intriguing. But then he ends up kind of becoming the next ghost in line. So I guess it's like a full circle moment. There was some things that were a little disoriented. I don't want to say choppy because it's a Christmas movie, so at the end of the day, it kind of has one singular purpose. I don't know. I think it was fine. It's just a different take on a classic tale with a pretty crazy cast. I didn't expect any. The only actors I knew were in it were Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. Other than that, I was flying blind. Tracy Morgan had me dying just because I didn't know he's going to be in there, so I was just laughing to hear his voice.
And then at the end, when he pulls the hood off, I almost fell off my couch because I was not expecting that at all. It was very funny. Christian, your long form take.
This is the type of, I guess, movie I think Netflix should make more instead of all the bad movies they make, because it's just this one's a very high floor, but it's also, to me, a film that doesn't need to exist per se, But Netflix just needs to make more high floor films like this compared to whatever that Melissa McCartney film was this past year, where she has superpowers or whatever.
Oh,
And just,
didn't that do like that? That tanked terribly.
it did. There's a reason I used it as an example, but it's very much a very solid film. Has some nice lessons, but just doesn't move the needle at all for me because I had low expectations. It exceeded them, but it still didn't move the needle at all. So
I think it was a good move, like how you said, like Netflix needs to make more movies like this. I think this is a good step for Apple TV.
Apple TV is already like arguably the second best streamer in terms of like just straight consistent quality of content. So like that's not the problem. They just need to make more stuff.
I think it's good. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's good in a sense of like a lot of people have been like drawn to this movie, whether it's, through social media ads or, just people seeing Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell attached to it and being like, oh, I want to go watch that. I think this is going to draw more of the casual people who are just kind of addicted to the Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max rotation, or throw Hulu in there as well, to go to Apple TV and kind of explore it. So I think this is a big, like, kind of like move the needle in terms of the platform gaining notoriety from the casual, streaming platform TV movie watcher, which is good. Like, I think that's a good sign for Apple TV moving forward, and the fact that they pulled this off. Like, Jimmy Fallon's in this movie too, as a little cameo, which is funny. We got a good tweet here from one of our followers on Twitter, at Michael VM1584. He tweeted at my thread where I was just kind of going along with it. He said, movie was good, but it needed to be 20 minutes shorter. And I kind of agree. There was some parts in there that, like, you could have mishmashed them together to eliminate a little bit of the filler parts. I think if it was 20 minutes shorter, like, it would have been that much, like, better, quote unquote.
I mean, that's like most films today, where it's like, this could do to be 10, 15, 20 minutes shorter. Like, very rarely nowadays are we like, that film is the perfect runtime. It doesn't need to be any longer, doesn't need to be any shorter. It's perfect as it is. So I just think that's a symptom of films.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Overall, I think good notch in the belt for Apple TV to have this kind of in their arsenal as like a holiday fixture. Great cast, great choreography.
Just to get like any holiday movie, if you advertise it well, or if it takes like this one did, you're gonna get numbies. Like you're gonna get people that are gonna tune in. We're seeing it now with the past several Netflix shows, being Stranger Things, Squid Games, Wednesday, etc. So you're right, and to go to Christian's point, like Netflix should be smart and do more targeted like Christmas or holiday themed movies, like. Especially because holiday movies almost get like a free pass, right? Because most people know they're not going to be like, you're not going to hold a holiday movie in the same breath as like Shawshank Redemption or like a movie of that. Like you're not going to be like, yes,
it's in its own tier,
just up there with Shawshank Redemption. Like they're very two different films. Like you know what I mean? So as long as you get a good enough cast, which they did, they got 2 actors that people find fun. And Ryan Reynolds, everyone on the face of the earth, man, woman, etc., finds him beautiful. So, like, they checked off the boxes. Apple TV was smart.
Yeah. Brilliant job by Apple TV, just from, like, strategy standpoint and, like, execution standpoint. And I thought from a musical standpoint, for all our musical heads out there, it's worth watching for the music and the choreography if you're, like, paying attention to detail for that a lot.
It's all about casting and timing with this.
Yes. And also, don't underestimate how difficult tap dancing is. The tap dancers in this movie went to fucking work.
Oh, yeah.
So that brings us to our scores here for Spirited. Dylan, I'll start with you. To remind everybody, we reviewed Bullet Train last week. Dylan's score for Bullet Train was a 7.5 out of 10, so the most recent movie review there.
Yes, sir.
For you.
And I assure you, this will not be that close. I'm not gonna. I feel like Christian's gonna say like a 5 or something, or like a 4. So I'll be a little more. Yeah, I'm starting to pick his brain a little bit. So I will be a little more.
You know me so well already.
Yes. So I'll be a little more optimistic because, in my opinion, I think anything below a 5 obviously is like don't watch. So taking this aside, I'm gonna put my criticalness aside. I'll give it like a 6 out of 10. It's not really like it's a Christmas movie. I mean, it's
That's fair. I mean, if you look at the Letterboxd average, which we're on Letterboxd, I believe it's at StreamerSZN, correct, Kyle?
Letterbox sponsor us. But yes, it is at StreamerSZN. You can follow us there.
If we look at the average
3.1?
score, yes. So most 27% of reviews on Letterboxd, which is almost 8,080, have it as 3 stars out of 5. So a 6 out of 10. So and then 20% have it as a 7, 15% have it as a 8, and 13% have it as a 5. So like you are much closer to the range of the mass public on that. Me on the other hand, it's in line with what I said before. Fun, but we didn't need it. 4 out of 10. Like it doesn't move the needle at all. So theoretically, I should put it at 5. But like this was just a film that the only reason I watched it was because of this podcast.
Hey,
which,
at least we gotta respect that.
Yeah, but if the only reason I'm watching something is because of that, and it doesn't like vastly exceed my expectations, or like exceed what I perceive to be like, oh yeah, sure, like this is extremely better than I thought it would be, and yes, this was better than I thought it would be, but it didn't like yeah, good, really good. Like it's a 4.5, 4 out of 10. Like, yeah.
Kyle? So do you want me to put you at a 4 or 4.5?
Well, let's be generous and say 4.5.
4.5 for the Christmas spirit.
There it is. Gary, where's your holiday spirit? Woof. So there we go. 4.5 out of 10. Why are we putting the date in here, Google? I knew this going in that my score was going to be higher than you guys. Just because I enjoyed the musical aspect a lot as a musical theater head. And I just enjoy Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds together, like that together aspect. I was like, I want more movies with these guys together. Awesome cast, fun take on a classic. It's something that, like, you could make the argument, like, you throw it into your Christmas movie watching rotation. If you're, dating somebody every year, like, hey, let's throw on Spirited. Like, you can throw it in the rotation. You can make room for it in the Christmas movie rotation. So I think I'm going to give this a 7.2.
This is going to be a fun one for you to do math for. Scores are all over the place.
Granted, like Dylan said, it's not in the realm of the Shawshanks, so you got to take the 7.2 and put it on the Christmas movie scale. So 7.2 plus 6 plus 4.5, 17.7 divided by 3 is 5.9 out of 10. And there is Spirited, which 5.9. It is our lowest for the year, but again, remember, it is the Christmas scale, not the traditional movie scale.
Ah, yes, the Christmas scale.
Which, speaking of the Christmas scale, we're going to do our top 5 Christmas movies, and it's brought to you by our friends at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. You guys can get your Blue Light Plus glasses at TomahawkShades.com. And Dylan, I know you have, in the past, frequented going to the mountains to shred that fresh POW.
I did used to shred the gnar.
They've got the new 2022-2023 edition of the Tomahawk Shades Snow and Ski Goggles available right now at TomahawkShades.com. They're the best of the best for the Survivor heads out there, too. We talked about this last night. They just partnered with Tyson Apostle, one of the OG GOAT Survivor castaways. You guys can go to TomahawkShades.com, get your sunglasses, your blue light glasses, your ski and snow goggles, and use code USP for 25% off your order at TomahawkShades.com. That's TomahawkShades.com, code USP for 25% off your order from our friends at Tomahawk Shades. Top 5 Christmas movies to get us in that holiday spirit, inspired by Spirited. So my big question here going into this, do we want to start with somebody? They give their top 5, then we move to the next person, or... Good.
I think we should address what we talked about before the show first, about a film or TV special that may or may not be disqualified based on how we view it. So I think you're best off explaining that, Kyle.
Yeah, so Christian brought to my attention that the animated Grinch is technically classified as a TV special. Obviously, now a lot of people just refer to it as like the animated movie. But we are going to leave that open to interpretation in the YouTube comment section or the Apple Podcast reviews of how you want to put that on your list. I don't know if it will be included on any of our lists. It won't be on Christian's. It probably won't be on mine. And I don't think it'll be on Dylan's from everything he's teased. So we're going to not include that on our top 5 movies.
In our heart, it's one of our top ones. It's simply iconic. But for the sake of better podcasting, we're going to leave it off.
So, who wants to start with their top 5?
I can go first if you guys don't mind.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mine, I've changed mine the whole show. I've been, because I had 3 or 4 locked in, right, and then I just kept changing them. But I'll go. So I didn't do mine in order. I just did top 5. Is that what you guys did?
That's fine.
I'm too hard to press.
Top 5.
Okay, so we're living in a world in which Die Hard counts as a Christmas movie, and nothing changes. That's in my top 5. I think if you like action movies, if you like Bruce Willis, you are doing a disservice to the world if Die Hard is not in your top 5 Christmas movie films. Also, that's the earlier off camera we were talking about it. I said Die Hard actually is a good movie for an action film. That's why I said for a Christmas film, it actually holds up well critically. Like, I think if you go on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes and look, it probably has a good score.
Die Hard's one of the best action films ever.
Yes, exactly.
And it will appear later on my list.
Yes. So we have Die Hard. We have a movie called. This is not a good movie.
Well, are we not going 1-1-1?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was going to say all 5. I mean, either way,
either way works.
I guess if we do all 5, it might be easier because we're going to have ones that might intersect.
Yeah,
True.
But it's not as fun though.
I mean, I'll do whatever you want you guys do. I was getting excited.
Let's go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Okay.
So my number 5, Love Actually.
Oh, damn it, our lists are going to be so similar.
Well,
I'm going to have to go with that.
No, see, you guys are not going to have at least my next 2 films, but it's just written and directed by Richard Curtis, the same guy behind a bunch of famous British rom-coms and About Time. It's set during the holiday season, follows a bunch of different people, and it is hilarious. It's funny, has some iconic scenes, and has one of just the most stacked casts you will ever read. It has Alan Rickman, Emma Thompson, Hugh Grant, Keira Knightley, Colin Firth, Liam Neeson, Thomas Brody Sangster, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Andrew Lincoln, Laura Linney, Martin Freeman, who's in like 3 or 4 scenes for the entire film.
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton plays the U.S. President, Rowan Atkinson, Claudia Schiffer. It's like it is a ensemble Christmas movie that's so much fun for the whole family. Has so many fun little moments. Yeah, it's just something everyone should watch.
I love it.
Kyle,
My number 5 is in the same ilk of your guys' number 5. Give me Iron Man 3, please and thank you. Iron Man 3 is indeed a Christmas movie. Kevin Feige has said so. Robert Downey Jr. has said so. Iron Man 3 is my number 5.
All right, I like that. Well, I'll say one that hasn't been said because Christian and I apparently have two of the same. So I guess the next one I'll say is a very not good movie, but it holds a near place to my heart. It is called Jingle All the Way. It is a Christmas movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and company, and boy, oh boy, do I love it. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger and it's Sinbad, the comedian. And yes, that's as crazy and wild as you would think as a cast led by those two individuals. It's cheesy, it's cliche, and I love it. If I were
Great
to rank it, this would be like the top one of the like top two. But I just love this movie.
That's a great pick.
Die Hard and Jingle All the Way will remain in the top 5 lists until death.
so my number 4 is one I will be surprised if you guys ever heard of. It's a film called Tokyo Godfathers.
I don't think I've heard of that.
It's this film that came out in... No, that's not the original release date. It's a film that came out in 2003 by famous director Satoshi Kon, who famously did films like Paprika and Perfect Blue and did a great TV series called Paranoia Agent. It's a animated tragic comedy adventure film where basically is these 3 homeless people. One is a teenage runaway, one is a middle-aged drunk guy, and considering it's 2003, this is very progressive, a former drag queen. And
Nice.
and they basically live as a makeshift family on the street, and on Christmas Eve they find an abandoned baby. And they spend Christmas Eve running around Tokyo trying to find the mother of said baby. And it's funny, it's sweet, it's heartfelt, it's something that people should see, and it's the most, to put it bluntly, most normal of all of Satoshi Kon's films, because Perfect Blue is basically the inspiration for Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan.
Oh, the artwork's cool for this movie, Christian. I'm looking now. Nice.
His film Paprika, which came out which was his last film before he died tragically because of cancer, which came out in 2006, is basically the starting point for Inception. Like, he is one of the guys who people don't know about, and I encourage people to give this a chance. It's currently, according to Google at least, free to stream on Tubi, Roku, and Vudu. So I would suggest people go take a look at it. It's a very, very well-regarded film.
It's Rotten Tomatoes number 14 Christmas movie in their top 100 too, by the way.
Yeah. What can I say?
So there's Christian's number 4. My number 4. It's a classic. It's elite. Fantastic. Top
the Fantastic
2.
Four?
Dear God, no. Trading Places.
Golf clap.
I like that.
Who doesn't love Trading Places? It's a fantastic one.
Mortimer.
I think it's very underrated in terms of just like people talking about it in terms of like our generation. So go watch Trading Places. It's a great movie. It's a classic. It's timeless.
Here's all you have to say. Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis. That's all you need to say.
Exactly. Dylan, your next one.
Number 3.
I think I'll do the nostalgic one, I say this as it encompasses the first two. I'm gonna say Home Alone. I don't like the third one, but I do hold the first two Home Alones near and dear to my heart. Even though the parents and the family are like literally the worst people on the face of the earth. How do you forget your child 3 times or twice?
Kevin!
And probably child services should have been called after the first time, but that's the conversation for another video. But nonetheless, that's my next one.
Great pick.
So full disclosure, if I didn't want to highlight other films, I probably would have put Home Alone on my list. And also, am I alone on the island that Home Alone 3 is not that bad?
That's the one where he's like at school, right? Sick, and they recasted the actor. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it has some iconicness in terms of like I like some of the traps. I just think the first two.
Oh yeah, sure.
The first two just mean so much, and I actually almost like the second one more than I like the first one because I don't know, the whole New York backdrop for me really does it, and I think New York, like with Central Park and stuff, that really fits the Christmas vibe, you know, and that just really hones it in.
My favorite line from Home Alone 3, which is not my number 3 pick. Let me make that clear first. Is the villains are reading this arrivals departures board in an airport, and the head guy goes, "We are going to Chicago," and they all start walking away except for one of the guys, and he goes, "I packed tropical." But back on topic, my number 3 pick is Greta Gerwig's Little Women from 2019.
Great pick.
It's currently streaming on Hulu, I think. I don't know for sure, but it's an adaptation of, and I always mess this up, Little Women's not Jane Austen, right? No, it's Louisa May Alcott.
Yeah.
But it has just a all-time cast, to put it kindly, like Saoirse Ronan, Queen; Emma Watson, Queen; Florence Pugh, Queen; Eliza Scanlon, Laura Dern, Timothy Chalamet, Meryl Streep, Tracy Letts, and just like Bob Odenkirk for like
Timothy
3
Chalamet
scenes.
for someone who's a big fan of him.
Timothy Chalamet, Queen.
King. But it's a film that's set in the backdrop of Christmas during the Civil War, and all these sisters coming back home because one of their sisters is sick, and it's so well made. It's so sweet. It is, to me, it's a perfect movie. Like there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's a film that was nominated for Best Picture and Best Screenplay. I don't remember if it was nominated for Best Director. I don't think it was, because there's a huge fuss made about it that year. But it's a film people should just see because it's so good. It's so well crafted. All the acting is great. Yeah, I don't need to say much else because Kyle totally agrees with me.
Yeah, good one. That's a solid one for number 3. My number 3 is a cult classic. I watch it every single year. It is now available on the streaming platform that we just reviewed Spirited on, because they gobbled up all the rights. Give me a Charlie Brown Christmas. It's so good. It's a classic. Like it gets you in your Christmas time feels. Who doesn't love a good Charlie Brown Christmas tree as well? I just love the Peanuts gang too. So give me a Charlie Brown Christmas at number 3.
Point of order. Wikipedia also calls it a animated television special.
Oh,
but
okay.
But we'll let it pass. We'll
Fair.
let it pass just because we're this far in and we don't need to do more research.
I mean, I can put that in an honorable mention spot and replace it, but
it's fine.
We'll all have honorable mentions at the end as well. Dylan, you're number 2.
Well, it was already said by someone, but Love Actually was on my top 5 Christmas list. I'm a sucker for a good like romance movie every once in a while, and that one has so many like just love like connections via like romantic or more platonical, etc. There's a whole bunch going on in that movie, and Christian said the acting list is insane. Like literally one of the most star-studded movies of all time in terms of like cast, and great, just a great film. Love it. We'll always watch it if I find it on TV.
Christian, you're number 2.
My number 2, to circle back to one movie someone already mentioned, it's Die Hard. And so if people want to dig it up, and Kyle, I'm sorry, but I have to plug another podcast here for 1 second. There's an episode from a few years back by the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast, where they brought on the writer of the film, and they break down the entire thing of why Die Hard's a Christmas movie. And he breaks it down, and it's such a fun listen. If you want to look it up, you should type in Fantasy Baseball Today podcast. Stephen E. D'Souza, Desouza. I may be butchering that. You can find it on Google, but it's a really fascinating listen, and he basically lays out the entire case. I mean, Christmas music. It's set on Christmas. I have a machine gun now. Ho, ho, ho.
He literally flies out for a Christmas party for his wife, who they're like basically separated at the time. So it's very much a Christmas movie because he makes effort initially in the very first act of the movie, and it takes place during a Christmas party.
Yeah,
Granted, a very bad Christmas party, but
Very solid pick. I will not be adding Die Hard to the list here, but my number 2 is another cultural classic. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. My number 2 is Nightmare Before Christmas.
oh,
It's a Christmas movie. It's a Halloween movie. Stop debating if it's one or the other. It's both, you filthy animals. Give me a Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a chef's kiss. It's a classic, and Jack Skellington is incredible. And you got to be incredible for Blink-182 to include you in Christmas in a song lyric. So, give me a Nightmare Before Christmas, and be like Jack and Sally. And that brings Dylan to your number 1.
all right. And once again, not necessarily the best films, but I like them because they're nostalgic. This encompasses the 2 of them. The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. I enjoyed that as a kid. The whole premise of like he murks Santa Claus and becomes Santa, I just thought that was hilarious as a young adult.
Has a series on Disney Plus now that just got renewed for season 2.
There
I
you
didn't even know. See, I knew they were making a series. I didn't know it was already out.
Yeah, neither did I. But no, I think we all agree those are pretty iconic movies when we're kids. They're usually, we probably all watch them at least every Christmas, if not more, more than once. Great movies.
Christian, you're number 1.
It's a film that you guys already know that I was talking about. I told you last week it would be number 1. It's still number 1. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Like, I grew up on that movie. It's a movie I've watched every year. Thanks, Dad. You taught me everything I know about exterior illumination. Shares full.
It's a great one.
It's a classic. It's so good. Chevy Chase is fucking deranged at the end, trying to give his family the best Christmas. Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas, Jesus Christ! Where Jesus Christ? Holy shit! Where is the Tylenol? Like it's it's so good. Everyone should watch it. I think it's streaming on...
I think it's HBO.
Yeah, it is currently on HBO Max. So I encourage everyone in the next 10 days to go watch it because it's...
Which brings me to my number 1. It is a Christmas Eve tradition in my house. It is not only my dad's favorite Christmas movie, my favorite Christmas movie, but also my brother-in-law's favorite Christmas movie. It's a Wonderful Life. it's one of those movies that is a classic. It's a black and white, and it's just a beautiful story about, not money's not everything, and no man is poor who has friends, and it makes me fucking bawl like a baby every single year. And it's one of those good wholehearted end of year cries that you need to get in. I recommend it 1,000,000,000% every year to watch It's a Wonderful Life. It's just, it tugs at the heartstrings, and it's a movie that I hold very near and dear to my heart. It's in my, like, one of my favorite movies of all time. So It's a Wonderful Life there. And then I figured we'd do 2 honorable mentions across the board. Dylan, you can name your 2.
Honorable mention would be Elf with Will Ferrell. I think it's overplayed, but I do like it. And then the second honorable mention, I just pulled it up, actually.
I was blown away. I was watching Jeopardy the other night, and Elf was like one of the responses. I felt so disgustingly old when they said Elf came out in 2003.
Second honorable mention is the Tim Burton Batman movie, because it is a
Great call, Dylan.
So those are my 2 honorable mentions.
So, to be honest, I'm not the biggest Elf guy. Like, I get why people love it, but at a certain point, Will Ferrell just becomes too much for me in that film. But for me, it's Home Alone, number 1. Home Alone's the first honorable mention. Like, it's classic. It's there. It is what it is. And then what do I want to do for the second one? You know what? Even though I don't truly believe this, I'm just going to throw it on there. Polar Express.
Great call.
Why not? I can't really think of anything else I want to put on there off the top of my head.
This new era of, like, bashing the Polar Express, all those people online, fuck off. Like,
I mean, let's be clear about something. PCGI is dated.
Oh, for sure. But it's one of those movies that, like, you can laugh at the outdated CGI and everything, and it's one of those things where, like, the Polar Express has 2 of the most iconic, like, just, like, goofy ass memes with the kid with the glasses, and, like, it's a good story. Like, people saying, oh, it's one of the worst movies ever. Fuck off.
Hot chocolate. We don't ever rule. We only got one rule. Never ever let it cool. Never ever let it cool. I listened to that way too many times growing up.
That's great. My 2 honorable mentions. Number 1, I'm going to go with torn here. I'll save the other one as a different thing. A Muppets Christmas Carol is number 1. I'm just a sucker for the Muppets, and it's good.
You are a big Muppets guy. That's very
big Muppets guy. And then my number 2 is going to be Jim Carrey's The Grinch.
That was
it's elite.
Yeah. If you did 3, that would have been on my list as well.
And then just in a weird honorable mention, I have a fun, like, attachment to The Little Drummer Boy, because when I was born, all the way back in 1993, The Little Drummer Boy was playing on the radio in the hospital when I was born. But to everybody at home who doesn't know, I was born in October, and The Little Drummer Boy was playing. So, like, I'm my mom's little drummer boy. So it's just a cool, like, attachment that I have to a Christmas movie / song.
Dylan, I thought I'd update you. Another George Kittle touchdown.
Yeah, I know. That's why a second ago I went like this.
So there's our top 5 Christmas movies. List yours in the YouTube comment section below. We'll tweet out ours in a graphic and have everybody debate whose list is better. Maybe we'll do the list anonymous and see who they agree with, based on
obviously
it being anonymous.
Someone who has Die Hard on their list is going to be the better one.
I'm just going to say out it's not going to be me, because no one's heard of Tokyo Godfathers.
Hey, I mean, for it to be number 14 on Rotten Tomatoes top 100 Christmas movies, that's a pretty high praise.
I've seen that guy's other work, but just not that.
Dude, so, Paprika is is a.
See, I
is
think
a-
I've seen Perfect Blue, and I think that director, I think he helped with Akira a little bit.
I'm not entirely sure, but Akira, yes, one of the best anime movies of all time.
Culture Christian. I know about that life. I've seen some good films in that genre.
Now, Kyle, I know this is 6 months ahead of time, but I think we just found our topic for the Spider-Verse podcast. Top 10 animated movies of all time.
Yeah.
Put it on the board.
Yes. Shout out Hawk Harrelson. But that brings us to everybody's favorite segment.
Order on a candle.
And for this segment, we talk about James Gunn's Twitter account.
It is the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by Pickup and James Gunn's Twitter account. You guys can go to playpickup.com, start playing the hottest headlines in sports, rack up points on your fan profiles, cash them in for prizes on the Pickup Marketplace. That's playpickup.com. Starting off here, the biggest news is the Superman controversy. Henry Cavill tweeting out that he's not returning as Superman after all.
It's
the
okay.
hubbaloo.
It's okay.
It's totally fine.
Yeah, like
Maybe he can go back to The Witcher, and The Witcher fans will be
I will bet. I'll
happy
put
again.
money on it right now. Call me out. He's gonna get James Bond now, because if he truly is not in any Superman projects, and he's truly not in Witcher, the world's not gonna let this handsome ass man. And then I said it. No shame.
I mean, Army Hammer did The Man with Uncle a while back. He has a Matthew Vaughn directed spy film called Argyle coming out on Apple TV sometime.
Yeah, he's been
next
training
year.
for Bonds his whole life. That's what Christian's saying. He's
Yep.
ready.
And then one thing in this news, I also think we need to acknowledge is it's not that they didn't want him back. It's that they wanted to focus on a young Superman, which we all love Cavill, but I don't think he's exactly young, bushy-tailed, bright-eyed Superman. Maybe we bring in maybe an Austin Butler.
Yeah, I think
or
he's
something
40,
like
right? Henry Cavill?
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe he's late 30s. I'm going to have to Google that.
He is 39. Yeesh.
Perfect Bond age.
Is it?
Open for interpretation. Great call, though, Dylan. We'll have to keep that in the archives.
It's definitely. I think they were trying to. I know. I was reading rumors they wanted either Idris Elba or.
And Idris Elba has flat out said he doesn't want to do James Bond.
Yes.
I would love for him to be a Bond villain, though.
That'd be great.
Who was the other? Tom Hiddleston was a guy that was rumored, and then Taron Egerton, and then
Richard Madden,
which I actually like because he's Scottish. That's just like how R.I.P. Sorry.
And I will continue to push my never going to happen desires of James McAvoy or Michael Fassbender.
Oh, hello, Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender fan number one right there.
I am the Michael Fassbender fan, dude.
Mikey Faz. This will make Christian very happy. Just a quick hit here. Wrapped filming Dune Part 2.
Oh, trust me, I knew that when it was announced, and I'm gonna be, as soon as they announce pre-sales for those tickets, whenever, I'm buying center of the theater, IMAX seat for opening night. Book it on their boys.
Tomorrow, well, by the time you guys are listening to this, today, Black Adam starts streaming on HBO Max.
I'll have to watch that.
And according to Puck News, this is via Puck News on the Twitter machine, Warner Bros. Executives think The Rock and his team purposefully leaked a financial sheet with misleading stats to Deadline to make it seem like Black Adam was a financial success.
Which I 100% believe, because if there's one thing The Rock's obsessed with more than making money is his image. Because if because and now it's Logan Paul's told this story, but he was good friends with Dwayne. But after the incident in the forest, which we don't need to go into that, he got contacted by Dwayne's agent and was like, delete all your contact info with him. He doesn't want to be associated with you. Like he carefully crafts his image so much that like a movie not making its money back is like bad for his brand. So wouldn't surprise me one bit at all.
100%. This comes from Cinepop. Our favorite new MCU overlord villain, Jonathan Majors, has dropped his favorite top 3 MCU films, but his favorite just got added to the Library of Congress. His number 1 favorite film is Iron Man. The other 2 are Black Panther and Avengers Endgame. Pretty standard, I'd say, for a lot of people for their top 3.
I think Iron Man should be in everyone's top 3.
Agree.
Say that one more time.
His top 3 favorite MCU films. This is no order outside of number 1. Original Iron Man, Black Panther, and Avengers Endgame. I think the only one really missing from a lot of rotations is Winter Soldier.
I would counter by adding Thor Ragnarok as well.
I think those are the top 5 for a
Yeah.
lot of people. We also have here, Dylan, you'll love this. We got our first poster for the next Studio Ghibli film, How Do You Live? It's releasing in theaters July 14th, 2023. Looks like what would be a future Pokemon. It looks like a seagull inside of a seagull like costume. Pretty neat.
Kyle, Seagull Inception.
July 14th is going to be a good day at the movies. It'll start with Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 and end with a nice Miyazaki film.
Just wanted to I'll start with you, Dylan. Initial thoughts on the biggest news of the week, the Into the Spider-Verse trailer.
Speechless. There's a lot of Spidey-Mans, and people, I don't know. I'm excited. Like I want it to be now. I don't want to fast forward life, but like I very much want to see that film tomorrow.
The only annoyance I have with that trailer is that like 2/3 of it's footage from the first film.
Yeah,
that's like outside of that, sure. Yeah,
I kind of like that though, because I think trailers have a bad habit nowadays of giving too much away.
Well,
give much away.
Sure, but like and like we'll surely get another trailer before June, but it's like this is a trailer for the next film and not for.
Yeah, no, I get you.
So it's kind of the only grift I have, but like Oscar Isaac, Daddy, yes please.
Yes. Also confirmed Daniel Kaluuya playing Spider-Punk, which is phenomenal. We also got a look at Bombastic Bagman is in Into the Spider-Verse, which is the Spider-Man with the paper bag over his head.
And if you froze the trailer at the right spot, you could see, I believe it's PS4 Spider-Man, PS2 Spider-Man.
Yeah, there's Spider-Man Unlimited confirmed. We got our look at Issa Rae's Spider-Woman.
I hope they have the Spider-Man that's just a bunch of spiders in a suit.
That'd be great.
That Ben Spider-Man somewhere.
Yes.
Bring back John Mulaney as Spider-Pig.
We got Issa Rae as Spider-Woman, who's going to be the first pregnant superhero, which is awesome. Her character in the movie is pregnant.
Hasn't really been a thing yet, has that?
Yeah. And then apparently the big widespread rumor is that Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man is going to be making a cameo in this movie.
As if they plan on using him for another 3 or 4 films, it makes sense just as a PR move. Also, it ties in because this is a shit ton of Spider-Man. So.
Tom has also said he wants to be in a Spider-Verse movie, so wouldn't surprise me.
I think this is also their way to
merge
under the floorboards of all of this. Kevin Feige to plot and scheme to get Miles Morales in the MCU.
my ultimate Miles Morales conspiracy theory is somehow in Beyond the Spider-Verse, because that's the name of the film that comes out in 2024, I think, is that it ends with like him going through a portal and it's like him being a real person.
Yep.
You can put it on the board.
Yes. This comes from Collider. Director Sean Levy says Deadpool 3 will start filming around May. Happy birthday, Dylan. Developing a Deadpool movie is one of the most fun creative experiences of my life because it's not just that it's rated R, it's that it's so filled with self-awareness, and that makes in-writing very, very fun in a way that is unique to that franchise. Fire me up. Let's go.
I'm with it.
John Krasinski via The Wrap says he thinks it's unlikely he will return as Mr. Fantastic, saying there aren't any discussions at all. I don't know about that. I think he's too like meta for anybody else to be cast. I don't know who else they would cast as the MCU Mr. Fantastic, but I think that's just Kevin Feige telling John Krasinski to keep his trap shut.
I mean, it's a question of how young they want to go with that, because I will once again say a name I already said once before. Can I interest you in Austin Butler? like we are gonna circle the room a lot over the next however many months with Austin Butler, so everyone be prepared.
Dylan, I don't know how prepared you are to get back on this roller coaster. We've talked about this probably since we started doing this format of this show.
Don't.
Patty Jenkins says Rogue Squadron is back in active development.
Cool.
See, so here's the thing with all this: we aren't getting a Star Wars film until 2025, because basically, for the next however many years, we're going to be getting Avatar movies this Christmas, in 2024, in 2026, in 2028. So unless they can turn one around like that, they ain't having a Star Wars movie during Christmas for 2025, unless they want to drop it during summer blockbuster season, which they'll be fighting their own films in Marvel for. But
And to be fair, the next Star Wars movie allegedly is Taika Waititi, so
even though it was originally supposed to be Rogue Squadron, it got so fucked up because Patty was working on Patty Jenkins is in such an interesting spot because she was working on Wonder Woman 3, which we can argue about that all day. She was working on Rogue Squadron, all at the same time working on a Gal Gadot Cleopatra film, which I don't want to unpack that because she was working on one, and meanwhile Denis Villeneuve has said he would be interested in making a Cleopatra film. Take a guess at which director would make one that's a million times better.
yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah. We got our first apparent news of a new member of the cast for the John Wick spinoff Ballerina. This comes from Deadline. Norman Reedus is joining Ana de Armas and Keanu Reeves.
I'm okay with that. He's a pretty intimidating actor. It would be interesting to see him. I mean, one of my favorite movies is Boondock Saints with him and William Dafoe. So I'm okay with that.
Speaking of Norman Reedus, there is a Death Stranding film in the works, which if people know about that game, Death Stranding, the main character is basically voiced by Norman Reedus / looks like Norman Reedus, if you look at the pictures. So
Checks out.
Massive.
This one is great. This is the news I teased earlier in the episode where we might get a quad box in the new year for an episode. I think it needs to happen. Dom, one of the underground OGs, was on this podcast for the very first episode. And it was myself, Dom, and Kevin Guest, where we reviewed a show that was like, Dom said, you got to watch this. It's a great show.
Succession?
I sat down and binged the whole thing, and it had me on the edge of my seat
No, I think I know what show it is.
like no other. Season 2, the final season of Hunters,
Yep.
is coming January 13th to Amazon Prime. Sign me up. I cannot wait. I have been waiting since April of 2020 for more of Hunters. This show is unbelievable. It's like one of the coolest shows I've watched in like the last couple of years, and I've just been waiting. I've known it was going to be coming. I just didn't know when, and then I got a notification that Hunters on Prime posted a new Instagram reel the other day, and I was like, what is going on? I went and looked. Hunters 2, January 13th, Amazon Prime. We'll be talking about it. Dom's got to come back on for the magnum opus that is this show. It's the original StreamerSZN show.
That's true.
Christian, have you seen the first season?
Let me put it this way. I watched the trailer for the first season, saw Al Pacino was being a Nazi hunter, and I'm like, do I need to watch this? And I never watched it, but I saw that he was nominated for Emmys and Golden Globes. I'm like, I'll get to it eventually.
It is awesome. You watched it, right, Dylan?
I think I started it because you told me to start it. I don't think I finished it. It was pretty. The first couple episodes were interesting. There's a couple of things that I was like, holy shit.
It's a great cast as well. Like Christian said, Al Pacino, Logan Lerman, Josh Radnor, Louis Azawa, Tiff Monet, Tiffany Boone, David Weil, Kate Mulvaney. Like, this show is awesome. It's in my all-time pantheon of shows. Go watch it if you haven't already to get ready. We will be talking about Hunters Season 2 on this show. I'm going to be talking to Dom to see what his schedule is like. January 13th, though, Amazon Prime. Buckle up. I can't wait. We put this in the group chat earlier this week. Christian, you sent it to us with Echo getting delayed. Apparently, it's now just delayed for like a season. And by season, I mean like in terms of like, spring, summer, winter, fall. Instead of mid-2023, it's not going to release until around December of 2023, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah, sure. It's probably just swapping with. It'll probably just swap with Agatha.
Yeah, more than likely, which I'm cool with, and I think it makes more sense for it to come out then because we were introduced to Echo herself around Christmas time in 2021. It was the reintroduction of Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. Charlie Cox, also happy birthday to the GOAT, Charlie Cox, 40th birthday. So yeah, I'm not mad about it.
I have some streaming Henry Cavill news.
Banning it.
So, Amazon is currently trying to acquire the rights to Warhammer 40K, which is a game.
Interesting.
And Henry Cavill would star and executive produce.
Interesting. Speaking of DC, James Gunn says Variety's report that they're exploring bringing Matt Reeves' Batman into their wider DC universe is, quote, entirely untrue.
James Gunn said a lot of things the past week. he was saying stuff as of 4 hours ago, including if I scroll up my Twitter feed,
James Gunn for president.
Yeah, he's he has basically said like we will be doing lesser known and more well known characters at the same time. Which I'm like, yep, okay, good,
cool,
good. That's how it should be because there are known characters that deserve to get spotlight, and then there are also some big characters that deserve to get like their
The
movie.
proper spotlight.
But probably the most important thing to come out of all of James Gunn's tweets is he talked to Ben Affleck. he talked to Ben
Photoshop
Affleck.
my face onto the Ben Affleck outside the building with the cigarette in his hand meme.
Do it. Execute order,
Yeah.
Batman.
Apparently Ben Affleck wants to direct a DC film.
Hey, hold on. Let's not fully slander Ben Affleck.
And for Lopez, that's good, right? He's got-
True. But The Town is still a pretty good movie. If
Yeah,
you haven't
for
watched
sure.
The Town.
Yeah, that's good. But I just am, as a Bat stan, hated Ben Affleck's Batman. Hated it. Batman doesn't have guns.
I think he looks the most like Bruce Wayne, though.
Do the voice, Dylan.
What?
What voice?
Do the Riddler Bruce Wayne voice.
No.
Bruce Wayne.
Kyle, cue all of the Snyder fans leaving 1-star reviews on this podcast now. For saying you hate Bruce Wayne, Batman.
At Crown my style, I like the way I think he looked very much like comic book Bruce Wayne.
He looks like him, but man, that was just a brutal run of Batman. To go from what Christian Bale did to then Ben Affleck, and sure, I am also of the ilk of like telling people to take into account like not everybody's going to be Heath Ledger playing the Joker. When you look at Jared Leto's Joker and Joaquin Phoenix and everything, like not everything is going to be Heath Ledger's Joker. But my God, Ben Affleck's Batman was rough.
One of my favorite things to torture one of my friends with is saying they should bring Jesse Eisenberg back as Lex Luthor. just for the jokes. And he's like, no, God, no, keep him as far away as possible.
This is going to be fun because Dylan hates when I do this, so I'm going to give Dylan a solo screen here for the pure reaction. Dylan?
No, would you ask what?
The Ready to Feel Old segment of the week.
Boom, boom, boom.
What is it?
Released 5 years ago today, as of this recording.
Oh, 5 years ago? All right.
The Last Jedi.
Oh, wow. It's been 5 years since I had to watch that shit show.
And that is why I wanted the Dylan solo screen.
I hated that movie, dude.
You hate Ryan Johnson? How dare you?
Like I mentioned, it's Charlie Cox's birthday. We love Charlie Cox on this show. 40th birthday to the GOAT. Dylan, it was around this time that I almost dove into my Daredevil watch.
Oh, it's true. You finally got your feet wet, and then before I know it, Kyle would hit me up with text. He's like, "Yo, dude, I'm like 8 episodes in, and I'm like, you just started yesterday, my guy."
No, dude, I've done the same thing where it's like I watched the entirety of Queen's Gambit in one night. I watched the entirety of Watchmen, the HBO Max series, in one night. I'm like, I cannot stop.
Dylan, I love throwing in the mixture of streaming and video games for you as well. Spider-Man 2 releases this fall.
It's crazy to think that we're getting that too.
We got regular Spider-Man, we got Miles, and we've got Venom coming into the fold there. Apparently, The Rock was offered a Black Adam cameo in Shazam 2, and he declined.
That's even more hilarious with the recent news of him faking the money made by the Black Adam.
Well, I can tell you the simple reason why. Because Rock isn't the focus of that film. He feels like he has to be the focus. It's feeding the ego.
It's kind of crazy, but you're not wrong. He is pretty egocentric.
I do have more Henry Cavill updates as of 6 hours ago via Variety. He will not return to The Witcher despite losing the role of Superman. Season 4 is moving forward with Liam Hemsworth.
Okay.
We've lost.
And then I also have here
You also have our movie for next week.
one last thing. Robert Downey Jr. We talked about him a bit here. We got our first look
Oppenheimer.
in Oppenheimer, and then
Speaking of that, did you see he recreated the bomb without CGI?
So we can get into this. I love how psychotic Nolan is so much. It is him and Denis Villeneuve and their obsession with doing things practically if possible. And Nolan's like, I'm gonna recreate the Trinity test, and you're gonna do nothing about it. And it's like, okay, buddy. Yet sit back down in your rocking chair, Grandpa. Please, you're taking this a little too far.
Robert Downey Jr. also said on what he misses most about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, quote, being in the trenches with Kevin Feige throughout the beginning, with Jon Favreau, it's like a beautiful dream now. The end, when I realized I'd made so many close friends, and the Russo brothers helping me embrace Tony's arc.
Don't bring him back. You ruined everything you did. Just putting it out there.
Hot take, I wouldn't mind him adapting the the Vision role, just like the Jarvis type thing for Riri Williams, like he does in the comics.
I think he can come back in terms of a flashback, or if they want to have like a movie that takes place when he's still alive and he's in there as a cameo, sure. But but other than that, I don't want him actively alive. That's just, it is what it is, and or variant maybe if they want to go that route with the multiverse.
I think the only time he's coming back alive is
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Which even then kind of feels wrong, but that's a different question. That's a different thing.
3 comic book films are now in the National Film Registry as well. Like we mentioned, Iron Man from 2008. Christian mentioned The Dark Knight alongside it as well, and then 1978 Superman as well.
All well deserved.
And then last one here, a live-action Death Stranding film is in development via Deadline.
Which I said.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I brought it up because Norman Reedus plays the main character in that film. And the character looks like Norman Reedus. So I'm like, maybe just cast Norman Reedus.
Fair. This is from an hour ago as well, with Avatar 2 coming out this weekend.
I saw it.
James Cameron is rumored to have handed in a 9-hour cut of Avatar 3 to Disney.
Wait, just wait.
He wants to do the VFX for all 9 hours before cutting it down.
I love how psychotic he is. He is like,
that comes from Jeff Snyder on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, but see, we can all think it's ridiculous, and then Avatar 3 is still going to make $1 billion, and it's like you don't bet against James Cameron. Like it is a fool's errand. Like this, the last 3 films.
Think the current one's gonna make a lot of money?
It needs $800 million to make even. It's on pace to open this weekend globally to 500 to 550 million.
Holy shit! No way.
Across the entire globe in just one weekend. So I say to you, do you think in the next 4 weeks in the next 4 whole weeks after that, it can make about 350 million and break even? And right, plus, like, even if it just breaks even, it's still the 5th highest grossing film in the world this year.
Didn't he say it had to gross $1 billion to break even? Or
no, that was him just throwing, like, just saying stuff, and then there was a report that came out the next day where in the next day or two, that was just like, it's actually more like 800 million. So
okay, so if it gets $1 billion or more, then they're making profit and they're chilling.
Well, if they make 900 million or more, they safely turn a profit. But like, even then, like, if they reach $1 billion plus $2 million, it's the 2nd highest grossing film of the year behind Top Gun. Like, it's it's not that hard to reach if we think about it. And this film's going to have word of mouth. People are going to be talking about it, and it'll reach the $1 billion mark. And then we're going to go, Avatar has no cultural impact, and it's just like, you guys don't understand it, right? James Cameron is the ultimate experienced blockbuster filmmaker. He makes stories that are simple but have a bunch of themes in there, but they're not too preachy. And he puts in a bunch of set pieces, all while doing crazy shit where he creates new technology. Like, he's one of the most important directors of the past 50 years.
That's true.
Like he's like, his work with CGI is part of the reason we're here today.
Yeah. Last one, Dylan, we've talked about my good friend and Eagles Twitter member Bennett. He's big time in acting and everything. Just putting another pitch out there because Amazon has officially ordered a live action series for God of War. Cast Bennett. Cast Bennett. Cast Bennett. That's all I have. Anything else from you boys?
We're getting the Barbie teaser trailer tomorrow.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Simu Liu, all going to be in that film, along with just one of the absolute deepest casts.
Speaking of Barbie, real quick, did you guys see like the Yanni Laurel new like blue and black, white and gold dress thing with the Toy Story 3 clip with Barbie and Ken?
Oh yeah. So I think the thing I heard about that was they altered the speed slightly, because if you listen to the actual full speed clip at the speed it's shown at, it is like more, it is much clearer, but when you slow it down ever so slightly, it allows for that thing.
Did you see that, Dylan?
Mm-mm.
So there's a clip from Toy Story 3. Remember when Barbie like ties up Ken and like starts ripping his clothes in the closet and everything? So when she rips the like special shorts that Ken has, he yells in the movie, "Oh, Barbie!" But there's a video that's been going around Twitter and Instagram and like social media and stuff where if you hear it just on first,
like, "Oh, fuck."
It sounds like, "Oh, fuck!"
I like that.
It's incredible. I'll find it and send it to you.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you hear it and you hear Ken say, "Oh, fuck," because it's just like, Ken should never be saying that, but it's amazing that he is. But yeah, make sure you guys are following us at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram. Remember, once we get to 200 followers on Twitter, Dylan puts the podcast in his Twitter bio. Make sure you follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow Christian at the Wiz_PHI. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And Dylan, say the line.
The line is, you're going to leave us recommendations on what to watch next on any streaming platform, movie, or TV show.
In the Apple Podcast reviews, follow us on Letterboxd. Just search StreamerSZN. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. That's where you get full video episodes of StreamerSZN, all your favorite podcasts on our network, original content, and live streams coming out of Underground Studios. You can leave your show and movie recommendations in the YouTube comment section as well. And let us know your thoughts on everything we talked about on tonight's episode, a loaded episode. So make sure you let us know how you're feeling there. And make sure you get your merch, that first edition StreamerSZN merch, PHI Apparel Company. Go to phiapparel.co. Use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your merch. It's the best and most direct way to support everything we're doing here. So go get your merch and rep the brand. But this has been another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Dylan, for Christian, I'm KB. Until next week, we're going to go to Nevermore Academy and tap dance our way to getting the heck up out of here. See ya.